Hello, everyone out and Artfully Connected. I'm
Okay.
here tonight, Cindy Harrison again. And tonight we have Meet the Artist, Ann Hunter.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. We're going to just talk a little bit before we get into questions and answers because I like to have people be able to find us on Facebook. So while they're gathering, how are you tonight?
I am just absolutely fine, other than a little sniffly nose, so please excuse my croaky voice. But I'm doing well and enjoying the summer. How are you and everybody else enjoying it?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. I'm doing fine. I'm heading out to the West Coast tomorrow morning, bright and early, so I'm a little bit, ugh. But at any rate, it's going to be wonderful. The weather has been very good to us, so uh, I look forward to it. But everyone else here joining us tonight, thank you for joining us. Tell us where you're from, and if you have any questions for Ann about her artful journey or products that she works with or anything like that, feel free to put them in the comments and I will ask them for you. And if you are watching the replays, thank you so much for taking the time to spend that however long you do watching this replay. And if you have questions, you're also go ahead and post them in the comments and put a little @ sign in front of her name so that it will notify her that there's a question that she needs to look at. Okay, so please do that. Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, you don't live that far from me. What was it? Took me an hour to get there? Not even, maybe.
Probably about an hour. Are you in Manchester area?
Yeah, a little bit south. Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, probably not, maybe not quite an hour.
Yeah.
I'm about 45 minutes from Nashua.
Yeah, and yeah. So because I knew it wasn't taking me long to get to your house, but you have a beautiful studio. I look at it and reminisce when I used to come down there, and beautiful view. What's behind your house?
I live on a lake. I'm very, very lucky to wake up every morning and see sunshine over the water. And you just can't imagine how nice it is when you are in a rainy day and you see mist coming up out of the water. You can sit down and get inspired to paint a beautiful scene. No matter what the weather is, it's beautiful. I can't think of a better place to live.
I don't blame you. It is gorgeous. It definitely is a gorgeous place to live. So I mean, you must see a lot of wildlife too down there.
Oh yes, we're about a mile and a half from Route 20, which is a state. They call it a state highway, but in most cases it's one lane going in each direction. However, we're a mile away from all the shops and everything, and we have rabbits, we have squirrels, we have chipmunks, we have a neighborhood fox that comes through. Eagles, we've got 2 bald eagles on the lake. Lots of ducks, they come to my bird feeder and pick up what's eaten on the ground. And it's, again, great inspiration to be creative. And I like to paint nature, wildlife, flowers, birds, and butterflies. So I've got great subject matter right in my backyard.
That's wonderful because I mean, and 2 bald eagles also. I mean, how many people can say they have that in their backyard? I mean, I have the fox, and I have wild turkeys, and deer, and tortoises, turtles, whatever lives in a swamp. I have a swamp behind me. I'd rather have a lake.
Well, we're lucky enough to have a place in Florida, and there we are on a swamp better known as wetlands. And there we have lots of wildlife too, otters and turtles and our friendly alligator. Our neighbor sent us a photo of must have been 5 or 6 foot alligator looking in her sliding doors at the back of her place. And I don't know about you, but alligators and I are just not something that are compatible. I'd run 50 miles away from one, but they think they're fascinating.
I don't think I'd want one in my backyard either. Thank you very much.
No. No. But the turtles are fun. They're fun to see, fun to watch. And we have turkeys down there too. And we watch them go to roost at night, and it's amazing. Remember our old saying, there's a pecking order? Well, there really is a pecking order. We watch them with the main man with his group, and he walks back and forth, and then they take flight right around his flight path. And until all of them have hit their little limbs in the roost, he stands there, and then he's the last one to fly. So it's kind of fun to see all that stuff close by.
It certainly is. Well, I just want to give one more shout out to the people watching. Thank you so much for watching. Please post any questions you have in the comments, and let's get started. Here's a really, I always joke about this being the hardest question, but where are you from, Anne?
Where am I from? Well, originally, I am from a little town in Rhode Island, the mini state. And I moved to Massachusetts for a career. And I've been living here. I don't want to tell you how many years, but more years here than I've been anywhere else. So if you happen to hear any kind of unusual accents, that's because I grew up closer to New York with all the coffee and the oranges and all that kind of stuff. And then I picked up a little Massachusetts twang. But my husband's Australian, so I guess I can say I'm bilingual.
I was going to say, you know, I know that your husband's Australian, and it's like, has he lost his accent at all and picked up a Massachusetts accent, or do you find yourself speaking to him with an Australian accent?
I find myself more interpreting his Australianisms to people. So I guess I understand, but I don't usually pick up those little accents. Cool. And I find that he's lost a lot of his, but I can't tell him that because he loves to think that he works on keeping it, because people are just always saying, "Oh, what a wonderful accent. Where are you from?" And I guess 9 times out of 10 they get it wrong. So he's always correcting everyone. No, it's not South African. No, it isn't English, and it isn't Irish. It's Australian.
That's a riot.
Yeah.
But he does have a nice accent. So let's start over. Did you come from an artistic family?
My family is very blue collar, and the way they have expressed their art is in the blue collar world. For instance, one of my brothers was a very successful jewelry engraver and designer, and had his own business, entrepreneur. I'm one of 5. I'm the youngest one of 5. And another of my brothers worked as an engineer, but as his hobby made furniture. And another brother had a painting business, walls and things like that, not any decorative stuff like we do. So I guess you can say they're creative in their own way.
Definitely, definitely, they are creative. When did you discover that, when did you discover you were an artist and started painting?
Well, I always had a job that was a creative job. In Rhode Island, I worked for a real estate company, and we did all the advertising and all the listings for the realty company. So in that sense, I had a business background, but I was able to use my creative bent, I guess you could say, in creating the ads. And when I moved to Massachusetts, I worked for Digital Equipment Corporation, and I did the marketing and product marketing and communications marketing, depending on which year it was, for different groups. So I ended up with a team of people doing all the creative stuff, brochures, product marketing things, advertising. So that was my creative outlet there, all the creation of their materials that were to promote products and services. And when I decided that I was ready to leave high tech, I got a retail shop doing decorative painting classes, supplies, and I took in a lot of consignment of all local artists. So I had multifaceted business. And that's when I really started working as a decorative artist and loved every minute of it. I just couldn't get over the freedom of meeting people that felt like I felt, created the way I wanted to create. And some of those people are still, from very, very day one, are still with me as friends and students all these years later. So that's kind of me in a nutshell in the creative world.
I mean, so you went from working for corporate to you decided one day I'm going to open up my own shop?
No, I had about 2 years of, I actually went to work for the shop just because, I didn't know really what I wanted to do next. I knew I didn't want to just retire. And there was this little shop I always wanted to go by. And I had time after I left my job. And I stopped in one day. I talked to the woman who owned the shop. And I took a class with her. And then I ended up teaching classes. And then I bought the business. So that's how that all kind of evolved over like a 2-year period. And it was an adventure. It really was. I still miss people coming into the shop, asking questions, getting excited about what they saw and how they actually were excited about taking classes. I just loved it.
So when did you leave the shop then and start your in-house studio?
2001, new millennium, new business. A few factors. I probably would have kept the business going in a retail environment for much longer, but the building I was in sold, and a new owner came in. Now, my business was in Hudson, Massachusetts, and if any of you are in this area, you know that Hudson's a sleepy little town, quaint, lots of fun businesses in there, but certainly not downtown Boston. And this man that came in felt that he was going to give all of his tenants Boston rents.
Okay.
And within a year, the building emptied out of all the then current tenants because it was not sustainable. And that's when I decided that I would move all of the classroom stuff to my home which my studio was then a patio between my garage and my house. So my husband and I put a plan together. We built the studio, and I've been here ever since. And I enjoy doing this too. I mean, I can get up in the morning in my jammies. Hopefully no one comes to knock on the door, but I can sit and paint for hours and get lost in myself and my creativity. And everything that happens in the house is totally separate and beyond where I am at the moment emotionally, you know.
That's wonderful. That is so wonderful. Okay, let's see. Which artist would you say influenced you when you started in the shop and you were seeing what other people were doing, and that you must have been exposed to a lot of books and things like that? So what artist would you say influenced you the most?
Um, it's hard for me to say just one. However, my favorite and the artist I love to paint with and of most of all is Helen Barrick. I admired her. I admire her still. I know she's passed last autumn, I think it was.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of taking workshops with her when she came to New England. But her zest. She brought up half a dozen kids. She started painting those kids, and she said she had no idea what she was doing. And she took a few drawing classes, and she took a few other workshops, and off she went. I mean, her characters were loving and fun. You wanted to be a part of it, and her colors were happy, and I think that's the most inspiration to me. And as far as I took things from other folks as well, but if you give me only one, I'll have to say Helen.
I mean, you could say many more, but I agree with you with that. I agree with you with Helen.
Mm-hmm.
She was she was a person I aspired to when I first started painting. I had most of her whippersnapper books, and it's like, that's,
Yeah.
I aspired to that.
Yeah.
So you said earlier, so you went to work for the shop, and was it 2 years later did you start teaching right away, or when did you start teaching?
I probably was there about 6 months, and I taught beginner classes. I just felt like I wanted to share what I had learned. I wanted to pass it on to other people. So I began doing beginner classes. And the more you learn, the more you can share. So my teaching ability grew as I grew. I'm a homegrown. I have since then taken week-long and weekend classes with some people who are very, very well known in the decorative arts field, and some artists who are not known in the decorative arts field. But one that comes to mind that had her career in both fine art and decorative art is Johnny Lillydahl, and she's passed away in I don't know what, 5-6 years ago, and that was another inspiration. She was so fantastic. She painted from live models and things like that. So, while I took a lot of stuff from Helen, Johnny was an inspiration too in the fine art world. So, if I were to give advice to anybody, it's reach out, stretch yourself. Don't limit yourself to one thing. Just get in there, and hey, it's only paint. If it doesn't come out right, you can always paint over it. But you learn something from every time you pick up a paintbrush. I think you learn something.
Definitely every class you take too.
Right.
When did you started painting not too long after you you were working there. When did you become a designer, and come up with your own patterns? And
Oh boy, when did I? I'll have to guesstimate. My first book, I think, was 1998. I actually had my first two books published with Judy Diphouse and Lynn Depchula. And then they decided they were going to get out of the publishing business. So Linda Locke in Canada said she'd like to do some books with me. So I did 2 or 3 with her. But then it was that awful time where the Canadian borders were tariffed. Anything going over and coming back was very, very expensive to get things over the border. And that was before digital files were sent back and forth. We actually had to paint, produce our designs, get them ready for shipping, make sure we packed them in pounds of bubble wrap and stuff, and ship them off to the printers. The layout team worked on one end and the photography on the other end. It was fascinating, but it was cumbersome. And so Linda and I did a couple, I think 3 books together. And then Viking Woodcrafts picked up all of my publishing, the old and the new. And I did, I think, about 10 books with them before Bob sold the business. And the new guy, was it Curtis? Curtis picked it up, and he changed all the rules and regs. And I said, okay, I don't think that I want to spend 9 months of creation and also put up 50% of the production cost. And the market was shrinking rather than growing, with all the big box stores kicking us out of there. I mean, Michael's doesn't carry any books of ours anymore. AC Moore's closed. Hobby Lobby does carry a few books, but not too many. So the writing was on the wall, and I focused more on packets than books. And, that's how that evolution process happened.
so cool. So yeah, because you kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah, reinvent yourself a little bit,
Right. You have to definitely just stay relevant, right?
Yeah, I think if you love what you do and you want to keep doing it, you look at what you need to learn and how you need to learn it in order to do what you do and love what you do.
Right.
I mean, just like we're talking now, video. 3 years ago, that wasn't something that we had to learn to do, because everything was travel. And I traveled all over the US to different conferences, and you remember lots of them yourself, Cindy, because you did the same thing.
Oh yeah.
And we don't have to do that anymore to reach a broader audience, actually. I mean, I can't believe I'm sitting here in my studio talking to people from everywhere. It does
all over the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm amazed, and I guess I said to myself, do I really want to learn something new? And then the other little guy on the other shoulder said, well, do you want to quit? And the first guy said, of course not. Well, get on it. You have to learn it.
You got little guys on your shoulder too?
I do, and they fight a lot.
I have that too, and it's like, who's going to win this one?
Yep.
So in all of your books and pattern packets and stuff, what would you say is your favorite subject matter?
Well, I think I mentioned it earlier. It's nature. And when I say nature, that's a broad word. If you look through all of my books, you will always see some kind of bird effect, butterflies, birds, fruit, flowers. That's what I enjoy most doing. For me, for my pleasure, I do some portrait painting. And
Is that
I've had
portrait
fun.
of people or animals or both?
Mostly people. I have painted all of my grandchildren. And I also painted my dog. I taught a few pet portrait classes at a local art center. But if I'm going to do personalities, I prefer to do people rather than pets, although they're fun to do. So I guess you could say I'm eclectic in my style. But,
There's nothing wrong with that.
well, some people call you scatterbrained or flibbertigibbet, but I'm just interested in learning and painting so many things. I love the ocean, so I've been doing some seascapes and some landscapes, but the landscapes need to have kind of an unusual portion to them, whether it's a garden shed or something. I'm just not one to do a landscape with no character in it other than, trees and grasses.
Mm, mm. So Nancy's asking, and you might know her, Nancy Maroney Richard.
Say again, please.
Nancy Maroney Richard is her name now, but she used to be part of Yankee. She lives down in Florida. Her last name used to be Ouellette.
Okay, yeah.
And
Hi there.
She wasn't sure if you remembered her, but anyways, she goes, "Are you interested in travel teaching these days?"
Does she want me to come down to Florida?
She may.
Well, there you
How are
go.
you feeling about traveling right now? Is it too soon, or are you ready, or?
Well, I would travel. I would be careful where I'm going because there are some places in the US that are very careful about how they manage the pandemic. And there are some states whose thoughts are, we'll just ignore it and it'll go away. And I'm being kind about that. And those states I probably wouldn't want to go to yet until things are more under control. And having said that, Cindy, I spend 3 months of my winter in Florida. And unfortunately, that's one of the states that is not very careful. But the county that I live in, which is in Martin County, I don't know how far away it is from Linda in Florida. Linda, right? Nancy, sorry. I'm terrible with names, so I'll apologize now if I call everybody the wrong names. I don't know how far that is, but they probably have the strictest rules for managing the pandemic than all the others in the state. So, so I will travel, but with caution is my answer.
Definitely.
Long answer for a short question.
That's okay. So back to, I know that you said part of your inspiration for your designs is looking out your back window or things like that, whether you're in Massachusetts or Florida. Are there other things that inspire you in your designs?
Well, anything can inspire me depending on what day it is. I think that you need to be open to the creative process. And I think that I look at things in a painterly fashion or as a designer when I'm just every day walking through life. One of the things that is an example that I will give to you that I have given to my own students. When you ask someone, what color are clouds and what color is the sky? And the typical answer is clouds are white and the sky is blue. Well, I've told my students, just look out there in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, wherever you are, and really see clouds and sky. Nine times out of 10, you're going to see many colors, and maybe none of them is white and none of it is blue. So you have to open your eyes and look in a different way. And I think that's my approach to everyday life. I can see a painting in almost anything, but that's because my eye is looking for things like that, for color. I love color, and I love the use of color in my paintings. Although today I was told that one of the nicest things we did recently, this was from a class member, was a monochromatic design. And I thought, whoops, that's not usually what I get from people. But she was so excited about being able to create so many different values from two colors. We used burnt umber and we used white, and created a whole seascape with ships sitting in the bay and little mountains in the back, and this horrendous cloudy great old sky. So that amazed me when she said, that's one of the nicest things we've done. So there you go. You just have to be open to all sorts of ideas.
You can learn a lot, and that can be quite challenging, actually.
Yes, it is.
So that's
yes, it is.
Cool. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the one thing that I think everyone should do as an exercise, whether it's just for fun or whether you want to try to create something new, is work in grayscales. Do a whole painting in grayscales. You can always color over, but that gives the best idea of values. And I think that in decorative painting, a lot of us are just too weak in shadows and highlights, and we don't get the drama sometimes of a finished product. And by doing your grayscales, it helps you to see how deep you can go and how light you can go to get that contrast.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your favorite medium?
Oh, well, now you're going to catch me.
Because I know you do many different mediums.
I do. Let me start off by saying that for years I couldn't paint in oils because I'm very allergic to terp and petroleum-based paints and mediums. So I stayed away from them for many years, and my method for design for packets and books is acrylics. But now that we have more eco-friendly and health-friendly oil paints, I started painting in oils again. And for myself, I really enjoy sitting down and creating in oils. The design that I'm going to teach, the red Cardinal with the dogwoods, I have painted that both in oils and acrylics. I'll be teaching this class in acrylics. But I'm finding that I play with both much more. I've designed in colored pencil, and I like colored pencil if I'm traveling because it's easy to transport, and you can get some real beautiful effects using colored pencil. I played with watercolors. I like watercolors, but for me, in my style of painting, they limit me. So I don't know if I've really answered your question, but I've given you a broad brush of me and that I'm just willing to do play with everything. I'm not afraid anymore. I used to be afraid like everyone else. Oh no. I think my first class, my teacher says, just put the brush on the paper.
I know. I've
Just
heard that
start.
before. So
Uh,
the medium you're predominant in when writing pattern packets and things like that is acrylics.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah,
Um,
all my books, all my packets are in acrylic.
do you have a favorite technique, a specific technique that you like to that that you do that gives you the happiest results?
Yeah, I guess I do. I don't know if you call it a technique that you can label, but when I paint, for the most part, I will base coat in multiple colors and blend them together. Sometimes I use a little medium to move my paints if they're, a little stickier, it's a little dry outside. But typically I start off creating the form of, say, flowers, each petal where the shadows would be and highlights would be. I actually base coat with those first colors, and then I enhance the shadows and highlights from there. I do that with fruit. I typically do that with my bird designs. So I like to create form from the beginning. And I guess in acrylics, you could say it's a little bit like what I would say is acrylic blending, and similar to what you would do if you were painting in oils. So I don't know if that explains it very much.
Well,
but
it certainly makes me more interested in finding out. So definitely, I'm sure if you all are with me, then we need to take a class with Anne to find out exactly how that works.
exactly what that means. And don't be afraid of it. It's an easy thing. People get I think a little intimidated when you ask them to do something they're not comfortable with. And none of us are really comfortable doing anything new. But kids, kids don't care. They jump right in. They just go for it, and they amaze me. And I always say we need to be more like kids. Just get in there, mess it up, play around. And the old thing, there's always an ugly stage to every painting. So get past the ugly stage and make it beautiful.
Definitely.
And that's what teachers are there for. Teachers, if you have a good teacher who's willing to work with you, they'll get you beyond those ugly stages and help you to fix anything that you don't like. My students typically tell me, or they tell each other, they don't tell me anymore, oh, it's okay if you make a mistake. Anne can fix it. She hasn't been stuck with anything I've ever thrown at her. And I laugh and I say, there's going to come a day where that's going to happen. So don't rely on me fixing it. Let's get it right the first time,
Exactly. Nancy's asking what paints you'll be teaching the Cardinal in. Are they Deco Art, Josanya?
I don't remember if I've sent you both a conversion of Josanya and Deco Art. Typically, in my books, and most, I won't say all, but most of my pattern packets have a list of Josanya and the conversion back to Deco Art. And I have no idea now, with all the discontinued Deco Art colors, what those conversions back to Deco mean. But most of the time I paint in acrylics because I just like the quality of the pigmentation, the way the paints move and flow.
You have a list of both in the PDF. You have paint Josanya artist colors in one column and Deco Art in the next column. So that's a conversion. It's a this or that.
Right.
Okay.
You can use all Deco Art, And, in the instructions, if you're using Deco Art, just make your little notes above the Jasonia colors in the narrative, and you'll be right there. But you can use some Jasonia and some Deco Art. What I find, though, if you do that, and I have done it many times where I've only had one brand, one color, and two colors in another brand, your ratio needs to change. For instance, if you're doing a project that's in Jasonia, and it says 2 of orange and 1 of yellow, and your yellow is in Deco Art rather than Jasonia, you may have to do a 1-to-1 combination to get the tone that you need. There's definitely less pigment in the Americana colors than there is in the Jasonia tube colors.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Do you have a favorite brush?
I have a favorite brand, but I don't have a favorite brush. I use a variety. But if I were to tell you, well, going back to what I like to paint, what I like to paint doesn't really have any sharp edges. It doesn't have good corners. It's all soft. Birds have fur, and flowers have ruffly feathers, and even leaves are soft. Clouds definitely are soft. The ocean has soft rolling waves. So that right away tells me that the brush that I should use would be a filbert, because the filberts don't have sharp corners. They give you the soft feathering that you need if you're doing birds, or they give you the soft edges for petals of flowers. So, so having said that, I would say that would be my, if you told me I had to paint with only one brush, that would be the one I would choose.
There you go. Well, that's a good way of putting it. You'd already said once what your best tip was, but do you want to just reiterate it for the people watching?
What my best what is?
Tip.
My best tip?
Give somebody, yeah.
I don't know. What did I tip about? I tipped a lot of things.
Well,
be brave.
Pick a new one. Go ahead. What would be your best tip that you could give to to somebody who wants to paint?
I would say the only thing that really comes to mind is have no fear. Go for it. That's the best tip anybody can give to anybody in any circumstances. But in painting, if you're fearful or you're intimidated, or someone says, oh, you could never do that, don't believe it. You can do whatever you want to do. You may have to take a couple of shots at it, but don't give up on it. That's my real best tip of all, is go with adventure. Don't go with fear or trepidation. We have too many of those things in our lives. Don't let our hobby, get part of that. Just go and have fun.
Exactly.
As I said, the worst thing that can happen is you paint over it if you don't like it.
So is there a medium, a subject, or a technique that you would like to try, that you haven't done yet, that you would like to try?
That I haven't tried. Let's see. I don't know. I've tried batik. I've tried watercolors. I've tried painting on fabrics, and I've tried painting on silk. I've done canvas painting, wood painting, tin painting. I don't know. There might be something out there, and I'll go looking for it, but I can't give you an answer to that right now.
There you go. No problem. Have you tried the media paints, the Deco Art media, fluid acrylics or whatever?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. I actually tried the spritzers.
Okay.
And I did this recently, by the way. I took the 3 primary colors And I took some watercolor paper and I just laid it down, moistened the watercolor paper, and just spritzed and let the paint run. And I did some interesting abstract. I don't know if you're interested in seeing it, but I'll be happy to show it to you.
Sure, if you've got it handy, definitely. Let's do a
I-
show and tell.
I do. Hold on. I'm actually going to submit this to an exhibit. Oh, it's got it upside down. It would help to put it right side up.
Okay, back, tip the top back and the bottom in. Yeah, just like
I'll
that.
bring it in a little closer too. Can you see it
Wow.
now?
So that's with the spritzer?
Yes.
And
That's
then,
that's with the media paint.
uh-huh.
You just put a spray head on, and because it's fluid and it's very liquid but very highly pigmented. And I just took the blue, the red, and the yellow, and I just spritzed it everywhere. And then I just kind of tipped it a little bit like the pouring, but not pouring. And then I happened to see a martini glass in there. Not that I drink martinis, but that's what came to me with the olive. Did you see that? I inked it in white. So now I have a multimedia thing. I have mixed media. In the diagonal where you saw some little, almost like a snakeskin pattern, I used drywall tape.
Oh.
And I just laid it in there, and that's what I did.
So
when I say, don't be intimidated, don't go with trepidation, go for it. I mean, I had a piece of paper, I had some paint, and I threw it on there. And I don't know if it'll be accepted or not, but it's a gallery showing that's going to happen next month. It may get in there, it may not, but I'm not going to tell them that I just threw some paint at that, and it took me 10 minutes.
I'm always curious about the white pen.
Yes.
That you used. What did you use to ink it in white?
I didn't use a paint pen. I used a gel pen.
Okay.
I don't know if being left-handed has anything to do with this malfunction, but I find that the paint pens, the ones you have to kind of press down like this to get the paint to flow, I either get too much or I get too little. So I stay away from those. If I have to do something broad, I'll use a brush. I use lettering brushes if I have to. But on that little design, I just use a gel pen. Just, one of those very inexpensive ones. If I were going to do a lot of inking, I would, I'd buy a good set.
Yeah, I've had poor luck with gel pens. Maybe they dry out before I get to use them because I'm in fear.
Well, I don't know if she's sitting in on this interview, but I know someone who may be here tonight. She might show up if in your comments. She knows how to refill them all.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. So if she writes you a little note,
we'll see. We'll see. Do you happen to have handy for show and tell your projects, the Cardinal and the Nuthatch?
I do. I also have the demo that we're going to do. Did you want to put that?
By all means, yes, definitely.
All right. Well, I got all my goodies here. This is what I'm going to do. You probably can't see the lettering too well. I should have put my other video up so you could see it both. But I'm going to just show my techniques on how to do this little Monarch Butterfly. This is it just says, if you can't read it, it just says dream, and it's a metallic stencil. I've got some metallic paints in there, and you might be able to see them. I'm just going to wiggle it around.
Yeah,
you might be able to see it. So they're actually iridescent paints to work with the colors that I've chosen. So that's what I'm going to do. But this is one of 4. And I think that you're going to have trouble seeing this because I did it on a set of coasters. There's 1. This has got high gloss on it. 2. And the 3rd one is the yellow swallowtail. So I have a yellow swallowtail, a black swallowtail, a sweet 16, and a monarch. I had to learn the names of my butterflies if I'm going to identify them.
Of course, of course.
So that's that's what I'm going to do. If anybody does want to join this little demo and they want the instructions on all 4 of these, they are available. And once you learn the one technique, you can do them all. And here is, I don't know how well you can see this. There you go. The Cardinal is on an 8x8. It's got a different abstract design. You learn how to play with your paints and move them around and really step out of the box. Mm-hmm. And then the bird is done with the technique that I talked about, where you'll base coat with more than one color and then enhance the bird with all of the deeper and lighter colors. And if anybody has any questions, let Cindy know. I'm very happy to talk more about that.
So your Monarch Butterfly, you're just doing one of the 4, just so that the people know. You're just doing one of the 4, but correct. The pattern packet has all 4 in it. And correct. That is going to be on Wednesday, July 7th at 7 p.m. right here in the group. So you can join her for that. And her Cardinal is on Thursday, the 15th at noon, and the registration is open for that, and there are still seats. So you're welcome to go over there and reserve a seat and paint with Anne. So you mentioned about, I don't think you mentioned to me before we went live, that you're teaching in other places. You want to tell us where you're teaching?
Well, I teach in my own studio, of course. I have 3 classes a week here. I teach in Lexington, Massachusetts at the Lexington Arts and Crafts Society. I'm a member there. And I teach for a senior living development in Lincoln, Massachusetts. And I left them this afternoon. They're the ones that were saying that they like the monochromatic thing best of all. I also teach in Florida when I'm there. I teach at the Hope Sound Fine Arts League and do workshops, and I have a weekly class there. So I keep myself busy. There's a painting group up in the Treasure Coast that I go up and do a 1-day workshop with them too, and we do it like once a year. It's like coming home again. And locally, the furthest I've traveled locally lately is in upstate New York for the leather stocking chapter of the society. And that's about it. I'll be at NET this year.
Awesome, yeah.
I'll be teaching if they all go, and it looks like, well, I'll back up. If NET is going to actually happen, we'll find out the middle of August, but it looks very promising. I'll have 5 classes running, and I'll have a booth. I'll share with Beth Wagner, so we do every year.
Oh, cool, yeah.
I'm sure many, if not all of you know Beth. She's a force to be reckoned with.
Yep, she's an art for webinar artist as well. Definitely.
Yeah.
So
good people. She's good people. We've been collaborating for a while. We've had a booth, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at NET. So anyway, that's my teaching gamut right now.
Yeah, and it looks like it'll happen, and hopefully, if everyone stays safe and does what they're supposed to do, be careful.
Well, I think this is the very, very crucial time where we're all feeling more confident. We're all stepping out more. I've been fully vaccinated, but that doesn't mean anything. We don't know how, when the rubber meets the road, if we're actually totally protected like we think we are.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm still very cautious.
yeah, we
And I
have to,
hope everyone else goes with a lot of common sense too.
yeah. A vaccine is not protecting us from the virus. It's just protecting us from dying or being hospitalized. That's all. Because I've known several people now who've been fully vaccinated and they have contracted COVID.
COVID.
So
Oh,
it's just,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. It's just that they didn't have to be hospitalized and they didn't, it's just like how every fall we go for a flu vaccine, we go for a
Right,
flu shot every fall. It's the
right.
same thing. You can still get the flu.
Oh, yes.
It
Oh,
just
yes.
doesn't kill you.
Oh, yes. Well,
So yeah,
that's like every vaccine. Nothing is 100%. But I think that we need to be still cautious regardless.
definitely,
You know.
definitely.
Mhm.
So tell people how they can find you and find your books and your e-packets and all that other fun stuff.
Right now, my books are sold primarily through Viking Woodcrafts, and their website is vikingwoodcrafts.com. I have some of my books here for sale. They're not on my website though. My packets are hard copy packets right now are sold through my own website, and that's www.thecreativetouch.com. And there's a product section. E-packets are sold right now through the Decorative Painting Store. And I think their website is thedecorativepaintingstore.com. And my packets are also sold retail through JB Wood Products.
Are they still, are they, are they still producing?
Yes. What they did was they moved out of their huge
Right.
factory, but they are still cutting. They're not cutting big tables and pieces like that anymore. They are still doing custom work if you give them some designs. For instance, I'm going to have an article in Pixelated Palette in the ornament issue, and that's going to come out in July. I don't know exactly, when in July. It'll be out in July, and I painted 3 pear-shaped ornaments with birds on them. No surprise, right? Birds. And JB Wood cut the wood for me, so the pears will be available through them. So yeah, they're still doing. They have a whole bunch of my packets, and they're very good people to work with, and to get product from.
Will they be at Net, do you know?
They're not.
Mm.
For the first time in 20-something years, they're not going to be there. However, anything that I painted that's in packet form from their wood products, I will take some of their wood stuff, as much as I can handle, but their whole product line will not be there. One thing though, that what people can do if they want to, they can order and ask them to deliver to Net, and I'll put them in my booth so they can pick them up from me.
Free shipping.
Free shipping.
Yeah, and we all know shipping these days is getting more expensive too, right?
Well, how many times lately have you found that the shipping has cost more than your product has?
Yes.
That's happened to me a couple times recently. So, so you either order more to make it worthwhile, or you look at a substitute situation,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I think that's about all the activity I've been doing. I'm tired though, thinking about everything that I have got going. I mean, just prepping for 5 classes, I think that's gonna be more. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. So this has been wonderful talking with you, Ann, and catching up with you. It's been too long. And let's see. So Marilyn Ford, where are the butterfly patterns available?
Thecreativetouch.com products.
So, yep. Did you get that? I put the creativetouch.com. It's in blue at the top in the description of this article or this event here. So you can click on that and go to products. And you'll find what's it titled? Is it titled just butterflies? What's it titled?
I think it says Butterflies Coaster, but if you want to hold on a second, I'll step away and I'll give you the order number.
Oh, I'm sure she'll find it, hon.
Okay.
Marilyn, if you don't find it, call us.
Yep.
She's got my number. So
we'll make it happen.
We will definitely make it happen. Nancy says, thanks, Anne, and great seeing you again. Catch up with me when you get a chance on my Facebook message. Okay, so I forget, somewhere in the comments here, she said where she was from or what part of Florida she was in. So you can go back and look at the comments and catch up on what people had written that I didn't repeat. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you everyone who was here watching. I am going to take next week off, but I will be back the week after, and we have another full house of exciting things in July. And Linda O'Connell will be doing the USA for the Watch, Learn, and Paint on Friday the 2nd. And I'm going to do Meet Deb Antonick on the 5th. And Ann Hunter will be doing her little Monarch on the 7th. So we've got a whole bunch more coming, but that's just to name a few. You can check out the events in the group. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day and week. And remember to always paint with heart. Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Cindy, for hosting.